And that's how they get away with this. That's how the chemical industry gets away with this, is that they paid off the senators and the representatives to pass the legislation called the Toxic Substance Control Act, where you have to show that the amount of chemical you're exposed to in a 24-hour period is toxic to human cells. It's not. It's not. It's minuscule. The amount of phthalates that get into your bloodstream within 4 to 5 minutes of applying nail polish is not toxic to humans, but it's accumulative in your body. So give me a 5-year-old girl who paints her 10 little fingers and 10 little toes once a week for 25 years. Now she's 30 years old, married, wants to have a baby, gets pregnant, hopefully healthy pregnancy, healthy delivery, but she's high in phthalates. At 7 years old, that child's brain did not develop the way its potential was in utero. That's what we're up against.
Yeah.
And all of those chemicals activate your immune system, creating the inflammation that pulls on the chain that manifests in your thyroid, if that's your weak link, or in your brain, if that's your weak link, or in your reproductive system, if that's your weak link, or in your joints. Doesn't matter where the symptoms are. This is 101. You always address the inflammation as a primary contributor to whatever your symptoms are.
Tom, a warm welcome to the Your Body's Way podcast. And I have to say, as I've just been explaining to you just now, it's such an honor really to be speaking with you, because I've been following your work for many years. To me, you've been the guy I've been turning to for information about gluten, about autoimmunity. But today we're going to be talking about this incredible documentary that you've created called The Inflammation Equation. So before we dive into it, because I'm so excited about it, how are you doing over there? You're in Costa Rica, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, thank you. We're doing really well. We're actually moving in a few weeks back to northern Italy. I have a 3-year-old son. We have a 3-year-old son, and we live in the jungle in Costa Rica. You know, the closest town is 18 miles away, and this is a community of about 35 homes. It's nice, really nice, but our child needs more stimulation, and so we found a beautiful Waldorf school, and we're looking forward to a new stage of life, a new chapter.
Amazing. And I can't imagine how this must be all piling on to your already busy schedule, because Tom, it's insane. So when I was looking through all that you've done in your career, I was just, again, all over again, surprised with how much one person can do. So, you know, just to kind of run through what I saw online. So obviously you're an award-winning author. The Autoimmune Fix is such an incredible book, but you've also written other books as well. You've hosted and created summits and documentaries, and you're a speaker, and you're on the board of so many different universities and organizations. And it's like, Tom, so you've done so much in your career. What motivates you to keep creating these incredible projects? What is motivating you? What's keeping you going?
When I opened my practice in Chicago on Valentine's Day in 1980, my first staff person, who was with me for many, many, many years, she always used to say, LG, LG, let go, let God. And okay, Donna, whatever, thank you. I'm not a religious person, but she had this paradigm that you just deal with what comes up next and know that you're going to do your best. And she really had a big influence on me. And somewhere there, I found a quote, a very famous poem. And I copied it and put it on the wall in all of our treatment rooms. And so I'd see it multiple times a day, every day. And it's from George Bernard Shaw, and it really sets the stage for one's life, I think, or at least did for me. This is the poem. This is the true joy in life, the being used for a purpose, recognized by yourself as a mighty one, the being a force of nature instead of a feverish, cloddish little group of instead of the being a force of nature, instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion my life belongs to the whole, and it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. Life is no brief candle to me. It's a sort of splendid torch I have a hold of for the moment and want to make burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations.
Wow, lovely. The fact that you remembered that as well just shows how it's ingrained and that's how you live your
That's
life,
right.
right?
That's right. And that's the paradigm that I've always had. You know, my father was a firefighter in Detroit. And in that job, they work 24 hours. They're there, they sleep there, then they're off for 24 hours. Then they work 24, then they're off for 72 for 3 days. Work a day, off a day, work a day, off three, work a day, off a day, work a day, off three. And he always had a second job. He always was working to give more for his family. So I was the first to go to college in our family, you know, and all of that. And so the work ethic has always been ingrained, I think, and just part of doing your best, just do life. So
Yeah. But how incredible that the thing that you're here to do, you've actually found it, like you've nailed it, and you now have a platform where people can hear what you have to say. And I've signed up for the documentary, The Inflammation Equation. It comes out on the 13th of May. I know that because the emails, like I'm getting reminded very often, which is good because, I'm a busy mom and I forget sometimes. And the information that you're giving from all of the top speakers that you have on the documentary, it's really powerful, and it enables me to look at my own life again and again and again, and to say, right, I really need to nail down this. I cut gluten out of my diet a long time ago, but now I'm really, really cutting it out, like not even letting even those little slivers in. Just little things like that. I mean, I like to have fun with it, but it's so good that you get to have this platform where you can influence people directly through their inbox and online. So it must be such a pleasure. But I have to ask, so this isn't the first documentary you've done. You've done, I believe the other documentary you've done is Betrayal, the Autoimmune Disease Solution They're Not Telling You.
yes,
That was the other documentary.
yes, yes.
So with the inflammation equation, what does the title mean, and why did you decide? Yeah, inflammation equation. So
It took me 2 months to come up with the name. 2 months, and my staff is every day, well, what about this? What about this? And there's so much information out there today. There's so many factors to consider. We're overwhelmed. We have so many people that are really good at marketing and represent themselves as experts. And it's difficult to tell that they're not experts, that they have some profit motive for what they're doing.
Mhm.
They're selling something, which is not a problem. I mean, you have to earn a living, but they give incomplete information.
Yeah.
And there's so much, and people don't know where to turn. So what do you do with all of these factors? What do you do with all this? What's the equation?
Yeah.
How do you lay it out in front of you and say, well, this makes sense. Yeah, this and this equals that. That makes sense. That's the equation. And then the second part of the title, the inflammation equation, decoding the path to optimal well-being. How do you decode all of this? I mean, how do you get started in a way that all right, I've got a journey here. It's going to take a while, but this is the first step in the journey. This makes sense. I can embrace this for me and my family. So that's the title. And, so let's just get into it. The Center for Disease Control. And well, the reason I did this, I don't do these things. The last one I did, as you mentioned, was 8 years ago.
8 years
I mean,
ago.
I'm not a professional docuseries guy.
But it takes like a year to put together, right? So it takes a
This one
hefty amount of
took a
time.
year. My first interview was in March of 2023.
So over a
And,
year.
and I went to 7 countries and interviewed 64 people, experts, not the doc down the street that's got a big list. And so if I put him in here, he's going to mail to his list. That's not the people that I chose.
I mean, Jeffrey Bland is speaking on day 1, I believe.
Yes,
right? And
yes.
he's the father of functional medicine. I mean, you can't get better than that.
Exactly. Yeah, and David Furman at Stanford and at the Buck Institute, he's got the contract with NASA. Why are the astronauts aging so quickly in space? And he figured it out. Dale Bredesen, the godfather of reversing Alzheimer's. Yehuda Schonfeld, the godfather of autoimmunity in Israel. This guy, 26 of the MDs who went back to get their PhD in immunology at Tel Aviv, his department, 26, there are many, many more, but 26 chair departments of immunology in medical schools and hospitals around the world. They're his students. This is the godfather. You know, people like that. And I had to travel the world to get to them. I went to Oxford, England, to interview those people that are working on the aging concept and what are the triggers of aging. I mean, it went on and on and on. And I'm so honored to have met these people. And I do have a skill set. You know, my skill set is I read the literature. I don't understand it, so I have to read it 2 or 3 times. But then when I talk to the authors of the research articles, I tell them, you know, I may interrupt you during our conversation if there's a word that the audience might not understand. And they go, oh, okay, that's fine. But then they're talking, say, wait, excuse me. And then they look at me like, what? Are you interrupting me? Because they're top people. But I primed them. I told them, so when you said this, does that mean this? Well, yes. So would that mean for the average person that they could think of it this way? I said, well, yeah, that's correct. And the whole 9 days, it's about 45 minutes a day. The entire 9 days is like that, where it's just easy to understand information. So what is this equation? What is it?
Right.
The Center for Disease Control tells us that 14 of the 15 top causes of death in the world are chronic inflammatory diseases. It's always inflammation. Everything except unintentional injuries is inflammation. Mrs. Patient, if you pull at a chain, the chain always breaks at the weakest link, always. It's at one end, the middle, the other end, it's your heart, your brain, your liver, your reproductive system, wherever the weak link is. When you pull in the chain, that's where it's going to break. And the weak link is determined by your genetics and antecedents, which is a geek word that means how you live your life. You know, if you eat tuna fish twice a week, you likely have mercury toxicity because most of the tuna is high in mercury. That's an antecedent, how you live your life. You eat tuna fish. So it's your genetics and the antecedents that determine where the weak link is. And when you pull at a chain, that's where it's going to break. That's the disease you get, whether it's diabetes or heart disease or cancer or Hashimoto's thyroid disease or rheumatoid or MS. It doesn't matter. It's the weak link. And the pull on the chain is always inflammation. So when you have a symptom, that link has started to let go. And now you're not functioning the way you should. And now you have a symptom. And the more you pull on the chain, the more symptoms you get. Now you can put some rubber bands around the breaking link of the chain. And you can take some pain medication or something for your migraines or whatever it should be. But the link is still weak. And you're pulling and pulling and pulling because lifestyle is the pull on the chain, creating the inflammation. So what do? When you understand that every disease is a disease of inflammation, and the more you pull, the more the link starts to break and let go, what do? You find out where the inflammation's coming from. This is basic 101. You know, if you go to university, the first courses you take in English are English 101. And then English 102. And then next year you take 201 and 202. And then next year, so basic 101, it's the basics. This is how you start everything. And the basics in terms of raising a healthy family, having a healthy body. The basics are identify where your inflammatory triggers are coming from and reduce your exposure to the inflammatory triggers. When that's functional medicine, bottom line, because the inflammatory triggers are not just the foods you eat, although the most common source of environmental trigger is what's on the end of your fork. That's most common, but also the air, also the amount of bisphenol A, the plastic stuff that's accumulated in your body. It binds to many of your tissues. It binds to your thyroid, and your immune system attacks it. Now you get thyroid disease, but it's because you're getting too much plastic in your body from the plastic water bottles or the nail polish you're using. The plastics that make the nail polish hard are in your bloodstream in 4 to 5 minutes, or the plastic containers you store your leftover food in the refrigerator. The next day, the chicken's got phthalates, the plastic chemicals in it, because they leach out of the containers, or the coffee cups you drink from that have the plastic lid. The hot liquid hits the underside of the lid, tapers down to the opening. You're drinking the coffee full of bisphenol A. All of these things that we do in life that we don't realize are antecedents. They're weakening, they're pulling on the chain, which manifests at the weakest links. So
Right.
you don't deal with the weak links exclusively. Of course, you want to help your thyroid function better. Of course, you want, to help your reproductive system function better, but you stop pulling on the chain so hard.
Mm.
That's the basics, and that's
And
what
that's
this
what
is all about.
that's what it's all about. So, I
That's
mean,
right.
what you've just said, there are so many things that I would love to go into because what you've just said is full of so many different avenues that we could go down. But first of all, just for anybody who's listening who thinks, oh, but the things that I'm going through or the illness I'm dealing with, I don't think mine has anything to do with inflammation. Just say, so
Wrong,
what?
wrong, wrong.
I mean, to help anybody listening uh, who wants to relate to this,
Yes,
what
yes.
are the diseases we are speaking of? So I know you said 14 out of 15 of root causes of the main is the root cause of 14 out of the 15 main causes of death. What sort of diseases are we talking about? Like what
Okay,
spectrum
good.
are we on?
I understand. I understand the question. I just like to tweak the language, not root causes. There are no root cause for every disease. But there is one root mechanism,
Mm.
and the root mechanism is inflammation,
Mhm.
excessive inflammation. Inflammation is not bad for you. It's really good. It saves our life every day, but it's excessive inflammation that pulls on the chain. So
Mhm.
what diseases are you talking about? Every disease is
Mm.
a disease. The only disease I've ever found that doesn't seem to have an inflammatory trigger is in children when they have a severe deficiency of salt, and part of their brain starts to atrophy. And I can't find any inflammation in that one, but everything else, recurrent miscarriages, fibrocystic breast, inability to get pregnant. Let me give you an example if I can there,
Yeah, please.
because I think for your audience, this might relate. In the Journal of the American Medical Association, they published a study 3 years ago, and they said the editors of the journal said this is an elegant study using sophisticated biomarkers to demonstrate their point. Now, the editors of the journal, the American Medical Association, don't say that very often. They don't give a stamp of approval like that, but they did. And these were couples going to assisted fertility centers trying to get pregnant. And as you may know, most of us have friends who are trying for that or been doing that themselves. They're spending tens of thousands of dollars, not covered by insurance, and terribly, terribly stressful trying to produce a successful pregnancy and have a baby and start a family. It's a beautiful thing. It's really a beautiful thing. And in this study from Harvard, that the editors of the journal said this is an elegant study. They ruled out all of the known factors that influence successful implantation of a fertilized egg. They ruled out cigarette smoking, alcohol consumption, exercise, no exercise, socioeconomic class, race. They ruled all of that out in an elegant way that you can't argue with how they did it. And they looked at one thing. How many servings of fruits and vegetables is the woman eating a day?
Mhm.
And they put the number of servings into 4 categories: the lowest, the next, the third, and the highest. The results were shocking. Women in the highest category of fruit and vegetable consumption compared to the women in the lowest category of fruit and vegetable consumption, women in the highest category had an 18% less likelihood of successful implantation.
That blows my
And,
mind.
and if they did have a successful implantation, if they had a pregnancy, they had a 26% less likelihood of a live birth. They lost the baby to miscarriages 26% more often. Wait, what?
Yeah. You'd think
What?
it'd be the other way around.
The more fruits and vegetables you eat, the worse the outcome? Yes. And this is an elegant study using sophisticated biomarkers at Harvard, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. You can't argue with the study. Now, some people have blinders on and say, well, we got to eat our fruits and vegetables. You can't argue with the study. You lose the baby the more fruits and vegetables you eat. There's a but. There was a category of women who were eating organic.
Mm-hmm.
And in that category, the results were the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
The more fruits and vegetables you eat, the better. Now, and here's the good news. Women were put in the category of organic consumption with the reversal and much better outcomes if they had 3 servings per week.
Wow.
Organic, not 21 servings per
Yeah.
week.
Like usually it's like 5 a day. That's
3
what people
servings,
advise.
right, 3 servings per week. And the authors didn't address that, like, what? Just 3 times a week? Well, there's the results. You can't argue with the results. So people at 2 times a week did not have better results, but people at 3 times a week did. What does that mean? I think what it means, and I don't have any science for this, but I think these are women that are trying to eat organic whenever they can. So those people probably have organic shampoo in their shower,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got organic soap, and their toothpaste doesn't say, warning, do not swallow. If swallowed, call National Poison Control Center. Read your toothpaste and you see that. So these women are probably doing more little things, trying to be healthier in general. Maybe they're using organic nail polish, organic cosmetics, right? But that's the good news. And I think why this happens, and I can't find any science on this, so this is my opinion, but I think the most sensitive tissue in the human body to inflammation, the most sensitive tissue, is a fertilized egg. It has no protection whatsoever, and it's totally dependent on mom's environment for its safety, its survival, and its growth. Now, if mom is loaded with chemicals from a lifetime and she feels fine because she's oblivious to what's not working great in her body, she feels fine. But here's an example: Chicago, 2016, 346 pregnant women in the 8th month of pregnancy. They did urine analysis and they measured phthalates in the urine. Those are chemicals used to mold plastic, like BPA. They fall in the category of endocrine disruptors. They disrupt how your hormones work. Phthalates do. And they put the results of phthalates in the urine for these pregnant women into the lowest, the next, the third, and the highest. They then followed the offspring of those pregnancies. And when the children turned 7 years old, the researchers reached back out and say, hi, it's time to do the Wechsler IQ test now. And they did the official IQ test on all these children. Not much in medicine is all or every, but this was every, meaning you can't argue with this. Every child whose mother was in the highest category of phthalates in urine during pregnancy, compared to the children whose mothers were in the lowest category, every child in the highest category, their IQ was 7 points lower than these kids. 7 points.
Mm.
That doesn't mean anything to anyone until you understand a 1 point difference in IQ is noticeable. A 7 point difference is a difference between a child working really hard, getting straight A's in school, and a child working really hard, really working, getting straight C's.
Mm-hmm.
This child doesn't have a chance in hell of ever excelling. Now you just go to Google and you type in phthalates and neurogenesis, brain cell growth. Here come the studies. The higher the phthalates, the more inhibition of nerve cell growth. So the women who were highest in phthalates in the urine during their pregnancy, their environment in the womb was suppressing the development of baby's brain. So that healthy pregnancy, healthy delivery, perhaps, but down the road, 7 years old, these kids' IQs are 7 points lower.
Mm-hmm.
And that kid doesn't have a chance in hell. So where do the phthalates come from? Plastic storage containers, nail polish. It's in the air. You have plastic blinds on your windows. There's phthalates in the air you're breathing every day. That's why you need house plants, because house plants absorb the phthalates and other toxic chemicals in the air.
Yeah, I saw a post on it today from you.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
NASA did the studies on that, and they showed that two 6-inch house plants in a 10 by 10 room absorb 74% of the toxins in the air.
Mm.
So you get house plants in every room, especially your kids' bedrooms, where they're sleeping all night. And then you learned that the flame retardant chemicals in your sheets and your blankets are outgassing a little bit of chemical into the air for years. Well, I've washed it 50 times. They still outgas chemical that you're breathing. But there's no evidence that that amount of chemical is toxic to humans. There's no evidence. And that's how they get away with this. That's how the chemical industry gets away with this, is that they paid off the senators and the representatives to pass the legislation called the Toxic Substance Control Act, where you have to show that the amount of chemical you're exposed to in a 24-hour period is toxic to human cells. It's not. It's not. It's minuscule. The amount of phthalates that get into your bloodstream within 4 to 5 minutes of applying nail polish is not toxic to humans, but it's accumulative in your body. So give me a 5-year-old girl who paints her 10 little fingers and 10 little toes once a week for 25 years. Now she's 30 years old, married, wants to have a baby, gets pregnant, hopefully healthy pregnancy, healthy delivery, but she's high in phthalates at 7 years old. That child's brain did not develop the way its potential was in utero. That's what we're up against.
Yeah.
And all of those chemicals activate your immune system, creating the inflammation that pulls on the chain that manifests in your thyroid, if that's your weak link, or in your brain, if that's your weak link, or in your reproductive system, if that's your weak link, or in your joints. Doesn't matter where the symptoms are. This is 101. You always address the inflammation as a primary contributor to whatever your symptoms are.
Right. That is a huge breakdown of my question about disease and about how it builds up. But I have to ask then just a really basic question, or two questions actually. So the first one is, what is inflammation? Like, what are we talking about?
Really good question.
And the second question is, are we all dealing with it then? So you, me, the person listening, our children, like, do we all have it to some degree?
Yes.
Because toxins are everywhere.
Really good question. So inflammation, Mrs. Patient, your immune system is the armed forces in your body. It's there to protect you. There's an Army, a Navy, an Air Force, a Marines. We call them IgA, IgG, IgE, IgM, cytokines, different branches of the armed forces. When they get activated, they only get activated to protect you from something. That's the only time it gets activated. It's dormant. It just sits around with nothing to do, just kind of watching the world go by. until it sees a threat.
Mhm.
Then it gets activated right away to protect you. It's really cool when you understand, and see some of the videos of what's going on in your body. It's really cool to watch that your immune system, inflammation is not bad for you at all because we're exposed to toxic stuff every day.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have a well-functioning immune system, we would die. Literally, we would die. So we all have some inflammation every day. But our immune systems are designed, you have the same body as your ancestor 10,000 years ago. Your kidneys work the same, your gallbladder works the same, the thyroid works the same. They all work the same. And your ancestors, what did the immune system have to protect them from? Bugs, parasites, viruses, mold, fungus, and bacteria. That's it. Your ancestors didn't have bisphenol A to deal with. They didn't have mercury in the fish to deal with. They didn't have organophosphates on your celery or on your tomatoes to deal with. They didn't have any of that. All they had as a threat that they were exposed to were bugs, parasites, viruses, mold, fungus, and bacteria. Your immune system is very efficient to protect you from bugs, parasites, virus, mold, fungus, and bacteria. It has not developed additional ways of responding. So when it sees a threat of any type, what's that on the thyroid? That's not a thyroid cell. Well, it's bisphenol A that's bound to your thyroid cell. But that's not a thyroid cell. That's a mutant cell. I better get rid of that so that we don't have a cancer or something. And your immune system destroys that mutant cell that's thyroid plus bisphenol A. And so you destroy that cell. Now your immune system has to get rid of the damaged thyroid cell that it's just attacked. And so you make antibodies to your thyroid. Not a problem. That's great. That's how it's supposed to work. But you're drinking water from plastic water bottles every day because it's supposed to be healthier than tap water. So you keep getting more bisphenol A from the plastic bottles. And if your vulnerability is that the bisphenol A binds on your thyroid and other tissues, but it binds on your thyroid, and your immune system says, well, what's that? There's another mutant cell. We better attack that one. And now you make more antibodies to your thyroid, and this becomes self-perpetuating. And eventually you develop Hashimoto's thyroid disease. And it doesn't matter what tissue it is. This mechanism, your immune system's trying to protect you. Now, the problem in today's world, and this is, I have to caution you in what I'm about to say.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's so overwhelming that it's really hard to hold. It's really hard to understand. But in the journal Pediatrics, they published a policy statement. That meant it came from the board of the American Academy of Pediatrics. This was a message to every pediatrician. And they said the Toxic Substance Control Act failed miserably, and they use that language, to protect our children from toxic chemicals. And that Toxic Substance Control Act was passed in 1976. And it's still the regulating guidelines at the federal level for chemicals introduced into our environment. And they showed in that policy statement, said, warning, warning, the number was 27 trillion pounds. 27 trillion pounds of chemicals manufactured or imported into the United States every year. Now, I don't know what that number means. What the heck is that? So I took 27 trillion, I divided it by 365 days, and I divided it by 330 some million people in the US. It comes out to 247 pounds of chemicals per person per day.
Oh my gosh.
That are manufactured or imported into the United States every single day. That's 5 50-pound bags every day. Now, that article in the American Journal of in the Journal Pediatrics from the American Academy of Pediatrics, that article was published in 2010. They took that information from the EPA about the number of chemicals, and they said, this is really a problem. We're poisoning our families. This is where disease is coming from. The chemical industry lobbied so that the regulations came out, the EPA could no longer accumulate that data. We have no idea now, 14 years later, how many chemicals are coming into the country. There's no way to find out. That's the power of the industry over our regulations. Another example, the European Union has outlawed, forbidden over 10,000 chemicals in any form or shape to be allowed into the European Union. The United States, 12. That's the power of the industry that we are up against. So your children are being exposed to so many chemicals every single day that their immune systems can only respond to as a bug, parasite, virus, mold, fungus, or bacteria. That's all it can do. And so when you get accumulations of mercury in your body because you're eating fish that are high in mercury and it accumulates in your body, if your detox pathways aren't efficient to get rid of this stuff when you're exposed to it and it accumulates, and you have high levels of mercury or you have high levels of mold in your body, the immune system is continually creating inflammation, attacking those cells that have the mercury, attacking those cells that have mold. But it can't kill mold. It can't kill, it can kill mold. It can't kill mercury. It can't kill bisphenol A. It can't kill organophosphates. It can only kill bugs, parasites, virus, mold, fungus, or bacteria. That's all it can do. So you continually produce this inflammation, fighting the lead, like in Flint, Michigan. Those kids, their brains will never work right, ever. Because continually fighting the lead, because you can't get rid of it unless you take specific steps to detox. And we know how to do that now. But if you don't understand the scope of the problem and what you and your family is up against, you don't know what to do. And so you follow the advice of the pediatricians that are following the local medical guidelines, which is just nonsense. It's just nonsense. You just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So the inflammation equation is about delivering this information to you in a non-overwhelming way. So, and like right now, I've got 1 hour with you. So it's boom, 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 boom. But in the inflammation equation, you're listening to this and then you hear, what do you do about this?
Yes.
How do you get started? And every day we do a little summary at the end. You say, so look, remember what Fran Drescher said? You remember when Fran asked me, how did I get to the guest bathroom?
Yeah.
Right? Right? I took one step at a time. And that's what you do. You just take one, you just start somewhere where it seems important to start, and you take one step at a time. And in 6 months, you've got this down. You've got glass containers in your kitchen to store your food in. You've got stainless steel containers for the beverages your kids are taking out when they go out. You know, you've got organic produce whenever you can. And if not, you've got the spray to wash the pesticides off of the broccoli and the tomatoes. And it's really easy to do. But you've learned all this stuff, right? And that's what the event is, to tell you there's a path that you can follow that's going to bring optimal health to you and your family. There's a path. It's going to take you 6 months to a couple of years to do this. What do you mean? Isn't there a pill I can take? No, there's not. It's like, wake up.
Yep.
Wake up.
Right.
Listen. Blue Cross Blue Shield published in February of 2020 and said, we've got a problem here. We've got a real problem. And nobody paid attention to it because that's when the virus came out. But this should have been on the front page of every paper in the country. They said in the previous 4 years, in a 4-year period, there was a 407% increase, not 10%, not 20%, 407% increase in the diagnosis of Alzheimer's in 30 to 44-year-olds
That's young.
in 4 years. Nobody's paying attention to this, but everybody's brain is, because the air you're breathing is so toxic. For most people, indoor air pollution is much worse than outdoor air pollution for most people. But we show you how to clean up the air in your house, how house plants work and air filtration systems, so that the majority of your time you're in your house. You sleep there, you know, your kids are there, and you create the best air you can. You can't do much about the air outside, but you can do a lot about the air inside. And you notice that your autoimmune disease starts to go into remission. You just feel better, and the antibodies come down, and you don't need the medication anymore. And my God, I feel so much better. That's what you find in 6 months to 2 years. Once you've got this big picture and you understand there is never going to be a pill.
Yeah.
Never.
It takes work, it takes commitment. But I have to ask, so like anybody who's new to this, because I've come across this well, not all the studies you've just mentioned, but obviously I've been studying functional medicine, so I know that toxins can come from everywhere, like your environment, the food you eat, you know, your stress levels. So anybody who's hearing this for the first time and they're thinking, oh, I'm feeling really overwhelmed here, like, whoa, hold the brakes. What can I do that is simple? What are the main things that I could do?
Right. That's our goal. That's our
Yes.
goal. That's what we give you is, here's the simple things to begin with. Just pick one. You can't do them all. Just pick one. And when you're ready, go back and listen again, and then you'll pick another one. And then you get that into your lifestyle. For example, in terms of eating styles, there's benefits to the ketogenic diet, especially if kids have seizures. You know, there's good evidence and weight loss and all of that for a period of time, but not forever. But what's a forever diet? What is a good forever diet?
Good question. Yeah.
No one can argue with when you look at the science. And the Italians came out with a pyramid. You know, we've all seen the food pyramid before. And this is the food pyramid for a forever diet, unless you need a therapeutic diet for a period of time. You know, for example, if you're going to assisted fertility center and you've just heard me talk and you're, okay, we're going to eat organic. That's it. It's organic.
Yeah.
So that you do organic. Then after you have a baby and you're healthy, every once in a while you'll go to a restaurant that's not serving organic or whatever. But so there are therapeutic diets that you do for a specific purpose for a specific period of time. But what's the forever diet? The forever diet is the gluten-free Mediterranean diet.
Oh, I like that.
And on the pyramid for the gluten-free, and just Google gluten-free Mediterranean diet, here comes the study, and print out the pyramid. It's in color in the article. Put it on your refrigerator. The very bottom of the pyramid, the very bottom, meaning the most volume of what you consume, water. No one's talked about water.
Yeah.
And it's critically important because you're so full of toxins, you got to flush this stuff out. You know, imagine you've got a 2-lane highway between cities, and it's a super highway, 2 lanes going into the next city, and on the other side of the road, there's 2 lanes going the other way. And you're doing 70 miles an hour. Okay, 55 or 70 miles an hour. Now it's opened up to 3 lanes and cars are entering from different exits and things. Now it's open to 4 lanes and you're getting close to the city. There's more traffic, but you're still doing 55 to 70 miles an hour. You're going along. Now you're coming into the city. Oh, wait, what are those lights up there? Oh, the lane, there's some construction and they're moving you down to 3 lanes. And then they're moving you down to 2 lanes. So you're 2 lanes, but wait, there's 4 lanes of traffic in 2 lanes. So now you're doing 30 miles an hour or maybe 20 miles an hour. That's constipation. You can't get stuff out very well because you're not hydrated well enough. Everyone should pinch the back of their hand. If it doesn't go flat right away, you're dehydrated. That's an easy way to tell, right? And we need to be drinking 1/3 of an ounce of water per pound body weight. 1/3 of an ounce. Whatever your weight is, it's 1/3. Oh, I'll be peeing all day. Well, that's the idea. You know, we need you to flush. We need you to flush. And we talk about exercise and we talk about food selections. And if you can't get organic, you can't afford it, or you can't access it, here's the sprays you use to wash these vegetables. You get over 90% of these toxic chemicals off of your raspberries and your apples and your cucumbers and your cabbage. Just rinse them off and you get this stuff off of there. It's really easy and simple to do. But if you don't know, you never do it. So we start with the basics.
Yeah.
And when you start with the basics, you just notice in a few weeks, you're feeling better. And 6 months down the road, because you've done all these little things over the course. And in my book, You Can Fix Your Brain, the subtitle of the book is 1 hour a week to the best memory, productivity, and sleep you've ever had. And this is the key to success. You tell your family, look, every Tuesday night after dinner or every Saturday afternoon, whenever it is, but for an hour, don't bother me. I'm going to learn a little more how we can be healthier as a family. And then you go back and you read something. Or for example, you say, okay, I need glass storage containers. And you go back to my book and here's 3 URLs for companies that sell glass storage containers. Miles Kimball, there's Amazon, and a third one, I don't remember. And you look at those, I like those. And you order 3 round ones and 2 square ones and 1 for the pie, and you pay with your credit card, you hit send. It took you an hour, but you're done for the week. But never again will you poison your family with the minute amounts of toxic chemicals in plastic storage containers. Never will that happen again. And then next week, you go back and you get the URLs for organic nail polish. And then next week, you go back and you get the handout on house plants. And you say, oh, I've seen these everywhere. Yeah, I like those. And you get the house plants. And every week, you allocate 1 hour. 6 months down the road, you see a friend that you haven't seen in a while. I said, wow, what happened to you? You look great. You look so much younger. What happened? Well, I watched this event called the Inflammation Equation, and I've got glass storage containers, and the Tupperware is out in the garage. My husband's storing nails in them now, which is what it's good for. And I've got organic nail polish, and my cosmetics are organic, and my shampoo is organic, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and we don't eat wheat anymore. And I tested my son, and he actually had the sensitivity to dairy. And when we took him off of dairy, he sleeps through the night now for the first time in years. And da 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 and da 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 and your friend goes, whoa, I'm overwhelmed. But you took 1 hour a week, and in 6 months you've dialed this down. That's the key to success.
Yeah.
So the inflammation equation, it's 9 days long, 45 minutes a day with about 10 minutes of comment afterwards. And you can't absorb it all at one time, but you can be exposed to it, and then you go back and listen to it again.
That's
right. And you say, you know what, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna listen to the episode on sleep. And you say, oh yeah, because JJ Virgin, my friend JJ says, you know what? The first thing I ask people, she said, I used to work with a lot of rock stars and a lot of movie stars one-on-one. And the first thing I ask them, do you feel refreshed when you wake up in the morning? And if they say no, then we don't talk about anything for a month except lifestyle habits for regenerative sleep. And for a month, that's all I'm doing is working with them every day. So whatever their life is, however crazy it is, they're up till 4 a.m. every day because they're rock stars, whatever it is. How do we set up regenerative sleep? Because if you don't get regenerative sleep, you can't heal.
Yeah.
It's physiologically impossible. And so you hear stuff like this from the experts, and you realize, well, I don't feel refreshed when I wake up. Okay, so what are some of the things I can do? And then you hear the other experts talking about the little things that you can do. And then you start applying some of those principles. Your generation is spoiled. They want it now. What's the pill I take so I feel great right now? Or, give me my mocha latte venti that's all full of chemical garbage that puts weight on you, but it tastes so good. I feel good when I go to Starbucks and I drink my whatever it should be. Well, they've got PhD scientists that know exactly the chemicals to put in those drinks, so you want more. They stimulate it, so you want more. And when you get off of that crap, excuse me, but when you get off of that for 2 months, and they say, you know what, I'm going to go have a venti latte mocha, blah, blah, blah. you feel terrible afterwards. You
Correct.
notice
Yes.
you're buzzed, you're moving around, but your head, you can't quite focus properly. You say, wow, all of that. Wow, I used to live like that. And you then become aware of what you just didn't know before.
Right.
You
And
want healthy life. So one more thing. If you want
yeah.
healthy life, you want healthy pregnancies, you want healthy children, wake up.
Mm.
You just have to wake up. There's a 407% increase in Alzheimer's in 30 to 44-year-olds right now. It's affecting your brain. Wake up and have patience. 1 hour a week is all it takes.
And the way you describe it just makes it so obvious as to why disease rates are going up. Like we're trying to find the key reasons. Like, is it is it the environment?
The
Is
root
it
cause,
what's
right?
the root
Right.
cause? Yeah. But when
Right.
you say it like that, it's so obvious. It's like, God, just wake up. Like,
Yeah,
I
there's no root cause. There's a root mechanism.
yeah, right.
That's what you have to learn. It's inflammation. It's always inflammation pulling on the chain. Well, where's the inflammation coming from? That's the $1 million question. And
Right.
it's overwhelming when you learn where the inflammation's coming from.
Yeah.
So you take one step at a time, just
Yeah.
one. May I give an example?
Yeah, go for it.
And I don't know if this relates to you, but I'll use it as an example of the unknown. And you don't have to answer, right? But is your lipstick organic? Is your makeup organic? Are the cabinets behind you, are they solid wood or are they pressed board? If they're pressed board, they're soaked in formaldehyde that's outgassing into the air, and you're breathing formaldehyde that goes right up to your brain, causing inflammation in your brain. The plastic, the blinds on your windows look to be wood blinds, which are great.
Yeah.
That's perfect. If they're wood, if they're plastic, you're breathing in phthalates all day, every day in that room. You need house plants in that room that absorb all that toxic stuff, so there's less of it in the air that you're breathing. The headphones that you're using are plastic. The microphone that you're using is plastic. You can't get away from this stuff. Sometimes you can't. You can't, but you can reduce the exposure and you can increase your hydration so your detox and flushing mechanisms are working better. That's the kind of stuff you have to look at.
Right. And I have to say, so it's taken me years to go through my different products that I use and to switch to organic. It does take years,
Yes.
unfortunately, but you feel like you're making progress, so it doesn't feel so bad. But I have to say, for me, I had the biggest lesson about gluten recently. I have avoided gluten on and off for many, many years, but I started to get symptoms I've never had before, like extreme tiredness, dizziness, like just a whole list of symptoms. And I thought, okay, so maybe it's my thyroid. My thyroid is my weak link that you talk about. So I had an overactive thyroid when I was 25. So I can only imagine that it's ready to go again at some point when the inflammation gets to a tipping point. But so I thought, okay, so, gluten, in functional medicine, gluten and autoimmunity, like they kind of like always scrap gluten, like that's the first thing. So I did. I really focused on it. I took it out of my diet, and my symptoms gradually over time gone. And that's the only change I've made. So
Yeah.
just if you make all of these changes, there might be just one that really makes the difference that you can see and you can feel, and that is so motivating. But the other
Yes.
changes are so important. So so I like to choose products that I use very often, and that's where I start. So, for example, deodorant, toothpaste, shampoo. So all of those things. I use
Marvelous.
Primal Life Organics on
Yes.
my teeth,
Yes.
which I know is a sponsor for your event.
Yes. Yes. He's one of our
Um,
sponsors. Yes.
yeah. And I use organic deodorant. I'm using Primal Life at the moment, and like just all of these different brands. And it takes time, but then eventually you find the brands that you like, and you find where to get them from, and it becomes second nature. So it does take time, but you can get there. And I just think that documentaries like The Information Equation, it's just so important for people to know about. And I just wanted to ask you just really, really quickly about I don't know if this is a quick question. I know we only have like a few minutes left, but um, leaky gut, it's a big topic, I know, but my gluten issue and all of the toxins in the environment, they are causing leaky gut. And would you say that leaky gut is one of the same? So would you say we're all struggling with inflammation and we're all to some degree dealing with leaky gut because of that, because of our environment?
It,
How common is leaky gut?
good question. Yeah, it's extremely rare that people test and come back negative.
Mm,
Um, the leaky gut is the gateway in the development of autoimmune diseases.
right.
And every disease is an autoimmune disease. It's your immune system trying to protect you. Every
Hmm.
disease. What they're teaching at Harvard Medical School right now is that all disease begins in the gut.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what they're teaching. And it's wonderful because these new docs coming out have this basic understanding of how critically important it is to have a healthy microbiome.
Hmm.
Leaky gut is not bad for you. It saves your life every day. Excessive leaky gut is
Right.
bad for you. It's a
Right.
normal protective mechanism, but unfortunately, it's happening most days, every day to most people. And
Mhm.
it is the gateway in the development of autoimmune diseases. Brain dysfunction, this thing about Alzheimer's in young people, this is severe. And you said that some of your symptoms from wheat exposure you thought may be giving you dizziness.
Mhm.
That means it's affecting your brain.
Right.
And so you're one of those people. I mean, there is a test, it's a marvelous test. I've never seen anything like it. It looks at 53 markers of inflammation in your brain. And if you have a marker elevated, by definition, you're killing off more brain cells than you're making. That's a degenerative condition.
Mhm.
It's called the neural zoomer plus. And you can do it as a finger prick or as a blood draw. They're both highly, highly accurate. And when you do that test, it's an awakening as to how inflamed your brain is right now for all of us. And I'll actually make this suggestion to you because you have quite a following of people that want to be like you know, lovely and beautiful and healthy and vibrant and working on staying healthy. You do that test, you do the Neural Zoomer Plus, and I'll interpret it for you online. Yeah, so
Thank
we'll
you.
do this in another show. And
Yes.
so, you know, people that want to know for themselves, do I have any problem with my brain or am I just getting older? No, it's not that you're getting older. No,
Mm.
there's, you know, we joke about it. Oh, I don't remember the way I used to. Like, where did I park my car in the parking lot? Where's my car? Or where are
Brain
my
fog,
keys?
the
Yeah,
worst. Yeah.
yeah, all of
Mm.
that. So the test is available, Neural Zoomer Plus. You can get it on my website if you wish.
Mm.
Uh, uh, the dr.com. Uh, and then I'll interpret it for you online.
I'll take you up on that offer.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, this has been a fabulous conversation. I feel like we could go on for much longer, but I'm very aware that we got onto this call late because you're so busy and you've got lots going on. So I don't want to take up too much of time, but I do want to spend this last moment talking about the documentary. So how can people sign up for it? When's it out? Like, what do people do if they're excited and fired up?
Really good question. And um, you can sign up for it at the inflammationequation.com/Tamara.
Hmm.
TAMARA,
Yeah.
theinflammationequation.com/Tamara.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you immediately have access to the full interview with Fran Drescher, the nanny.
Which is fabulous. I've watched it
Yes.
myself. She's
Yeah,
so
you
great.
too. Oh, it's just marvelous.
And the
And
conversation with both of you, I really enjoyed both of you in that conversation because it was so natural and some of the moments weren't edited out. Like some of the
no,
bits that you would think should be edited out, they actually weren't. And I really liked it. It was very natural. It's very you two. Like I can imagine that's exactly how your friendship is to some
yes,
extent.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's like you know, I said to her, I said, Fran, you're the only person I know other than me that does this. And she said, uh-oh. I said, when we rang the doorbell and your staff welcomed us into your beautiful home, we couldn't come into the house until I put those little hospital blue booties on my shoes.
I
And she
love
starts
that.
laughing. I do the same thing. She says, why would I bring the toxic world from outside inside? Right?
Right. And her home looked sparkling. So I can
Yes,
imagine she doesn't want any toxins in there. It's like
right.
super like
Exactly.
clean. Cancer
Exactly.
Schmancer is her
That's right.
organization, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Fabulous.
Yeah. So when you register, you've got access to that full interview right away. And
Mm.
then the series starts on May 13th. And so I welcome everyone. The invitation is to everyone. Please come join us and ask your questions afterwards. And we look forward to the next time that we can be together.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for your time, and a big congratulations for such an incredible documentary that's about to be coming out. I'm sure all of the really hard work is done and you're kind of just letting it flow now. So that must be a nice feeling.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm sure it's going to go fabulously well. And yeah, I wish you all the luck with it.
Thank you so very much. Pleasure to be with you.